Okay, here we go.
Is that me?
Anybody?
Yes. I have a question about Prop 14, or the measure of the merged primaries that passed on June 8th fairly overwhelmingly. And I wonder if you could discuss the pros and cons of its effect, particularly whether you think that maybe a side effect of it might be to elect more moderate Republicans who might be more amenable to negotiating a budget that's balanced.
Well, you know, I didn't vote for that. Again, it was Democrats who voted for that made that happen. That was a deal that was made. That was a concession. That was a bribe. That was sort of a shakedown by Abel Maldonado that if you go ahead and give me an open primary, I'll vote for the budget. And so we Democrats, other Democrats, allow that to happen. And that is just absolutely outrageous. We should never have done that. And now we're going to be spending millions of dollars dealing with that in the court. You know, the only good or bad thing about it now is that John Burton's calling me to get money, you know, so that we can deal with that in the court. No, I think that what that's going to do is to force Democrats and Republicans to kind of fly under the radar and really not clearly identify, you know, who you are and what you are. It is going to be so bland that we're going to try. There are going to be individuals who are just basically saying, "I'm a good person. I believe in everything that you want to do. We'll work together. But what do you stand for?" You have not a clue as to what they stand for. It is the parties that define who we are and what we're about. At the end of the day, you know, if some of our members are a little wayward, you know, we've got the party to simply say to them that this is what you stand for, and you really need to then express that through your vote and through the public policy that you articulate. And so what happens with these kinds of primaries and so on, where they're nondescript and whatnot, is that, you know, you get individuals who don't really think and know exactly what they believe in, and that's our problem right now.
The oil extraction tax or fee, Jerry Hill's promoting that to solve the, help the budget crisis be alleviated for at least 1 year. Do you have a comment on an extraction for the oil fee?
Well, I mean, I support it. I think
we need revenue.
Yeah, the only question is that there are a number of different revenue ideas. There's one in the Assembly that talks about changing Prop 13. There's one, the oil severance. There's talk about maybe going after, again, the higher income. There's talk about the VLF and so on. All of those are possibilities. The question is how probable they are. And because at the end of the day, we've got to find, what are the probables, because we've got to then close this particular budget. And right now, there's no indication whatsoever on the part of the Republicans that they're going to go for any tax increases whatsoever. And so again, I think that all of us who are looking at revenue are putting everything on the table and trying to figure out which one is going to work for some of these Republicans so that we then forestall some new cuts.
Thank you.
Excuse me, what about this, I've talked to several other congressmen. I think at one time when you were here before, I asked you about the golden parachutes that we have, that some of these people walk away with retirements that are in the college, the retirement, that they vote themselves bigger raises the minute that they get in, and some of them have, I heard that there's one of them that's getting over $1 million a year in retirement, more than he was making when he was in the college area, and that there seems to be ridiculous, and it's running our kids out. They can't afford college now.
Well, pension is a pretty big issue right now. I think all of us know that it is sort of a time bomb that is ticking. And I think some, as you indicate, are pretty outrageous. There are bills. I think Senator Simitian has a bill where right now you can, in fact, start calculating your retirement based on the last 2 years or last 3 years, And what has happened in the past, or what happens right now, is that there's individuals who will then artificially inflate that particular amount so that they can then increase that pension or that retirement even more. There is a bill that he has that will take that away. I think that all of these kinds of discussions about pension, needs to be negotiated. Fortunately or unfortunately, those pensions were gotten because of through labor negotiations, and if we're going to change that, then those need to be negotiated out, and we'll work.
I think that blaming it on labor is getting, I'm sick and tired of everything blamed on labor. If it wasn't for labor this, if it wasn't for labor that, we'd be making the same as pickers in the field, and it's a ridiculous situation. I think I challenged you up here when it came to where you're, they stopped the pay of everybody, and I asked you, I said, did they stop your pay? And did they hold up your pay because they were short? We've had nothing here but people that blame everything on labor. And if it wasn't for labor, we wouldn't have what we've got today.
Well,
I'm talking about all of us.
Well, I do understand that. The reality is that we cannot go after the private sector, because that's outside of our reach. I can't even reach into UC. I mean, UC, you talk about UC, those executives, they make hundreds, the president of UC makes more, it makes $1 million a year, and I can't even reach into that. And so we've got bills to try to do that. But the reality is that pension is being discussed. The governor is negotiating with the CHP, they're negotiating with a number of different units, and they are, in fact, now, through negotiations, coming back with some modification of their particular pension, and so my recommendation is that if there is going to be a fix on pension, that ought to be negotiated, and rather than, there are bills in the hopper that you will unilaterally make those changes, and I'm not supporting that.